It's the dream of every cricketer, the ultimate glory. Few manage to keep their date with destiny. But for many, it's been heartbreaks and a cross to bear. The Holy Grail is here in India. I'm Rupha Ramani, and Firstpost brings you the ringside view. We bring you the Cup of Dreams. Cricket World Cup coverage like never before.
The champion!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance.
Hello and welcome. Hope you're all doing well today. I'm Rupha Ramani and you're watching Firstpost. Now, we've always said sports is a unifier. It brings people together. You compete together. You play in teams together. The language, the color, the race, the title, the class, the country doesn't matter. Over the last few days, we saw some very heartwarming pictures of political top brass like the French President Emmanuel Macron and UK royalty Princess Kate trying their hand at wheelchair rugby and basketball. Now, it's all very nice to see, but what the world has repeatedly been reminded time and again is that sports and politics don't make a good cocktail. There's lots lined up today from the world of sports, so let's get started. Sports has always been marred by political unrest and wars. It's the first casualty after peace, of course, when it comes to propagating agendas and venting biases. On the show today, we tell you how sports is often the fall guy when there is breakdown in ideologies or political communication between countries. In cricket, we continue our coverage of the World Cup in India in our Cup of Dreams edition. A Shubman Gill-less Team India prepares for their next challenge against Afghanistan in the country's capital, Delhi. A preview on the show. A week into the cricket tournament, dark horses New Zealand look like the best outfit. They notch up a second win, beating Netherlands convincingly in Hyderabad. Mitchell Santner could be the key to the team's success. We get you an exclusive interview from the New Zealand camp. And cricket is set to make its reappearance in sport's biggest spectacle, the Olympics. The sport will make its comeback in the LA edition into 2028. Has America been truly cricketified? We tell you how. Well, that and more coming your way, but what's making all the headlines from around the world in Sports 360? Let's begin with football. Barcelona drew 2-2 with Granada in yesterday's La Liga match. Host Granada scored in the first minute after kickoff. 28 minutes later, Granada scored again to increase the lead to 2-0. A minute into first half injury time, Barcelona scored one goal. Sergio Roberto scored in the 85th minute later to equalize for Barcelona. England forward Bukayo Saka has been ruled out of the national squad. The striker has suffered a hamstring injury. He will now miss the friendly between England and Australia on the 14th of October. Saka had also missed his Premier League club Arsenal's game against Manchester City on Sunday. In tennis, world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz advanced at the Shanghai Masters. Spain's Alcaraz beat England's Dan Evans 7-6, 6-4 in straight sets. Alcaraz next plays Bulgaria's Grigor Dimitrov in the round of 16. The match will be played tomorrow. And golf, Matt Fitzpatrick clinched the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship. The tournament is played at the iconic Old Course in Scotland's St Andrews. The golfer from England finished with a score of 19 minus under par. With the win, Fitzpatrick captured his first European Tour title in 2 years. All right, and now we have to speak about what are all the news that's making all the headlines in cricket in our Cup of Dreams segment. The matches at this year's Cricket World Cup keeps getting better and better. New Zealand beat the Netherlands by 99 runs in yesterday's match. The Black Caps batted first and scored 322 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in their 50 overs. Will Young, Tom Latham and the young talented Rachin Ravindra all scored half-centuries. The batting order of the Netherlands had a tough time playing spin. The Flying Dutchmen were bowled out for 223 runs in the 46th over. Mitchell Santner, of course, picked up 5 wickets for New Zealand. Santner's spell has become the first 5-wicket haul at this edition of the World Cup. Former Australian skipper Aaron Finch spoke on Australia's World Cup opener loss to India. Finch said that He felt Aussie batters lacked aggression and intent to go after the Indian spin bowlers. He added that the Australian batters were being way too cautious and should have taken more risks. He also said that Indian batter Virat Kohli took the game away from Australia. Speaking of India, concerns continue over the health of batter Shubman Gill in the Indian camp. The in-form performer is now also likely to miss the match between India and Pakistan on the 14th of October. Gill has already been ruled out for the Afghanistan match that is scheduled for tomorrow. World Cup authorities are leaving no stone unturned in their preparation for the much-awaited match between India and Pakistan. More than 11,000 security personnel will be deployed in the Indian city of Ahmedabad. Additional forces will be kept on standby. India and Pakistan, of course, play each other at the Narendra Modi Stadium on the 14th of October. The Pakistan Cricket Board, or PCB, has written to the International Cricket Council, or ICC. This is regarding a delay in visas that are being issued to Pakistan cricket fans and journalists that want to travel to India for the World Cup. At least 60 journalists from Pakistan are yet to get their visas to travel. PCB says that the ICC should have resolved these issues way before the World Cup started. Pakistan sports presenter Zainab Abbas has left India. She was in India to cover the World Cup. This comes after an Indian national registered a complaint against Zainab over some of her previous social media posts. The complainant said the tweets were derogatory in nature to certain religious groups. Reports say that Zainab has left India for personal reasons. Java Daniel, the pitch invader from UK, has been deported from India. This comes after Daniel had breached security at the India-Australia match in Chennai on Sunday. He was seen wearing a Team India jersey as he entered the pitch and stood next to the Indian players. Daniel has also been banned from the remaining games of the World Cup. Well, that's a lot of headlines from around the world of sports and cricket, but let's begin with something that's a little sensitive at hand. Now, if you play a sport or have played sports, you're well versed with the emotions of losing and winning games. But there's one sport that has more at stake and much more complex than others, and that's politics. Every time politics has meddled with sports, the human spirit has lost. Because sports is more than just a team-building physical activity. Sports is an emotion. Growing up, children often look up to sports stars. In football, there's Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. In cricket, there's Sachin Tendulkar and Mahendra Singh Dhoni. In athletics, you really can't look beyond Usain Bolt and Neeraj Chopra now. Boxer Mary Kom has inspired thousands across the world. Many women too to take up a sport as rough and raw as boxing. And of course, Simone Biles is the guiding beacon in gymnastics. Athletics and players often go beyond the playing fields. They shape the lives of thousands of people. But every time there is a political disagreement or a war between nations, sports is the first to suffer. Whether it's a Saudi Pro League club refusing to play in Iran over the statue of an assassinated general, or world's sporting bodies taking a call to stop games in countries where security has become volatile. Somehow sports has found itself in the thick of political muck, the fall guy to the whims and fancies of political top brass. The most recent example is what's happening in Israel. There is an all-out war, and the security or the lack of it has made the environment rather dangerous to play sports. The Union of European Football Association, or UEFA, has postponed all football matches that were scheduled in Israel for the next 2 weeks. The matches that have been affected include the Euro 2024 qualifier between Israel and Switzerland, which was scheduled for the 12th of October, and Israel's Under-21 Euro Championship matches against Estonia and Germany. A football tournament involving Israel, Belgium, Gibraltar and the Wales also delayed. This 4-nation tournament was set to begin today and go on till the 17th of October. And finally, Israel's Euro 2024 qualifier against Kosovo, which is scheduled for the 15th of this month, has also been shifted. UEFA is saying that it is unsure when the matches will even happen. Apart from the teams, the fans suffer too. The fans who are the very integral reason a sport grows, matures. Israel is known for having a massive football fan following. In fact, their fans are some of the loudest and most creative ones in the stands. But with the turmoil Israel suddenly finds itself in, it's highly unlikely that any sporting events will be taking place in Israel anytime soon. And this isn't the first instance the world is witness to this repeating over and over. A war disrupted sporting activities just last year. This was after Russia began its military operations in Ukraine. And the first to get axed were, of course, the sporting events. But just like you cannot separate the fans from the sport, you quite obviously cannot separate the sports persons from the sport either. Russian players got banned from sporting events, with the rare option in some cases of competing as neutral athletes, but who'd want that? Along with players from Russia, Belarusian athletes, were also handed the same fate. The question we want to ask is, should athletes suffer for the action of politicians? It seems to be the case already, though some decisions, few and far in between, seem to indicate a change. UEFA wants to bring back Russian and Belarusian teams to play football. Russia's return to football is confirmed for at least the under-17 teams. There is speculation now, though, that Russian Paralympic athletes will be allowed to play in the 2024 Paris Olympics. Here's what the Paralympic Committee had to say.
And again, it's something that both organizations are aware of, that we may have different decisions. The organizing committee is aware of, and the French government is aware of, that we may have two different approaches when it comes to Russia and Belarus participation at both the Olympic and the Paralympics.
Now, this means that officials in the Olympic Committee want Russian players to compete. And now the ball, though, is in France's court. We'll have to wait and see if the Paris Olympics will indeed see Russian athletes participating. Back home, cricket fans, of course, in India and Pakistan are all too familiar with this. It's become a part of the psyche, of our subconscious. Cricket and politics are strange bedfellows. Every time there have been skirmishes between the two countries, and there have been quite a few, cricket is the first to get cancelled. Bilateral series between India and Pakistan have become a thing of the past. It's in cold storage now. India last toured Pakistan for a series in 2006. That's 17 years ago. And the last time Pakistan came to India was in 2012. That too for a short white ball series. Even during the Asia Cup last month, the Indian team refused to play in Pakistan, citing security concerns. So Sri Lanka became the neutral venue for these matchups and, of course, the knockouts. And this has become a sort of a phenomenon. Every time India and Pakistan want to play cricket or are forced to face off, they find neutral grounds that will host them. A slow death for the passionate cricket-loving fans across both sides. The Sharjah Cricket Stadium in the United Arab Emirates has been the facilitator for this time and again. Now, is this the future of sports? Will wars and political enmity drive players and athletes to neutral venues? It seems like a temporary solution, but something is better than nothing. Cricket has found a way to go around political restrictions. We hope other sporting bodies find similar solutions and let sports continue playing a positive impact on society. After all, the athletes of today inspire the future generation, and that's a cycle you want to propagate. On to cricket now and the Cup of Dreams. 1 week is in and some of the teams are playing their second matches already. India is gearing up to take on Afghanistan in the country's capital, Delhi, here tomorrow. The team may be riding high on momentum after a come-from-behind win over Australia and Chepauk in Chennai, but they will be glum over the absence of their opening batter Shubman Gill in the ranks. As per a press release by the BCCI, Board of Control for Cricket in India, Shubman Gill did not fly over to Delhi with his team. He's resting in Chennai and yet to fully recover. This is, of course, worrying news for India, though a win definitely makes you think less of what a concern this is. The one aspect, though, that India will look to address is the top order collapse. Ishan Kishan, who came up the order in place of Gill, Rohit Sharma and Shreyas Iyer all departed without opening their scores. Some runs under the belt from any of them could prove to be a good confidence booster ahead of their next one. Afghanistan is an exciting talent as far as T20 format goes, but are yet to properly sink in and hold the ground in 50-over cricket. Their batting is their prime concern. They have the flamboyance, but very few who can stay and carry their bats through their innings. The key battle I'm really looking forward to will be the Indian middle order that came good against Australia up against the Afghani spinners. Now, who are the Afghani spinners? You've got 3 of them: Rashid Khan, Mujibur Rahman, Mohammad Nabi. These 3 are solid spinners who have been globetrotters that feature in Indian Premier Leagues, and they have a world of experience, and they will keep it tight in the middle overs, surely. Now, if we look at how the Indians have fared, the Indian batters have fared against spin since 2021, they average 5.7. India isn't one of the fastest scorers when it comes to facing spin. And these numbers, of course, as we said, is from 2021. This is how they have fared against spin. Their scoring rate is below 6. They aren't one of the best in the world when it comes to this. England and South Africa are ahead of them in this regard. So that's the key battle I'll really be looking forward to. Virat Kohli, KL Rahul, Surya Kumar against these three. So what's the head-to-head like between these two sides when it comes to ODI World Cups? Just the lone face-off in 2019, and that was an intense battle with Afghanistan running India close and India managing to beat them by just 11 runs. Will they take the fight to India on Wednesday, and will that contest inspire them is what we'll have to wait and see. All right, switching to New Zealand now, who beat Netherlands last night rather convincingly to register back-to-back wins. The star of the win, of course, was Mitchell Santner, someone we said at the start would be a key component for the team's fortunes. He took a fifer and played a cameo with the bat to help secure a win for the Kiwis. Now, what makes Santner so special?
In 2015, Mitchell Santner made it to New Zealand's national squad after a stellar performance in domestic cricket. The left-handed batter and left-arm spinner became a reliable all-rounder for the Black Caps. Santner was just the bowler that New Zealand needed, particularly after their ace spinner Daniel Vettori retired. Santner has been a hidden gem. He may not be known as a flashy match winner, but his contributions have been important for the Black Caps. Mitchell Santner has played over 90 one-day international matches for New Zealand. He's taken 98 wickets internationally, which means at least 1 wicket a game. Santner's best bowling figures in an ODI are 5 wickets for 50 runs against Ireland. And his left-arm spin bowling average is below 5, which means he's difficult for batters to hit. And why is that? Because his slower ones are tricky, and New Zealand knows that, which is why Santner is such a key component of his team's bowling attack at the World Cup. What Santner did in the match against Netherlands was remarkable. He kept the batters guessing. The slower ones looked tempting, but they rarely have any pace on them. And each time the batter decided to go for the big one, Santner got the best of them. He's now become the 6th bowler from New Zealand to clinch a 5-wicket haul in the ODI World Cups. And there's much more magic in his arsenal.
And I also managed to speak to one of his teammates, one of Mitchell Santner's teammates, Matt Henry, who in fact put in a sparkling performance in their team's opening encounter against England. And this is what he had to say.
I think he's been so good for us for so long now. And to see him just continue on showing his class was brilliant. And last night was just another example of that, really. To see him finish off the innings, we know how dangerous he is with the bat at the end of the innings, and he executed it beautifully. And then to come out with the ball, as always, has beautiful control. And then there was obviously a lot more on offer for the spinners last night with a bit of turn, and he just extracted that beautifully. Really smart in how he went about his work, and we know how well the Netherlands have been playing as well. So we knew they were a dangerous side. They put us under pressure in different parts of the game, and I thought the guys stood up and handled that pressure well.
We'll, of course, bring you the entire interview with Matt Henry pretty soon. But speaking of New Zealand, they came in on the back of a series loss against England and Pakistan and have really turned things around despite the absence of their talismanic captain, Kane Williamson, and another senior hand in Tim Southee on the field. The side looks well united and seem to be ticking off all the right boxes. Now let's look at one of their reasons for success, which is their batting. Their personnel in certain key positions are delivering. These three are proving to be key components, holding and spearheading the batting for the Kiwis. Number 1, Devon Conway. He's pretty much the backbone when it comes to opening the attack. In 2 matches, he's already scored 184 runs. He's averaging 184 because he's been unbeaten. Then, of course, going later down the order, you've got Rachin Ravindran at number 3. Again, 2 matches, a stunning average of 174. He's had a 50 and a 100. And if we had to look lower down the order, Darren Mitchell didn't really have a good first outing, but almost was among the runs there in the second game against Netherlands. And these three pretty much form the fulcrum of the New Zealand batting lineup. Now the question though is, have they possibly peaked too early? Well, we can't tell for sure, but this juggernaut is going along very, very nicely. Now let's move on to some more cricket news, and this of course is going to surely excite fans all over. The gentlemen's game could make its way to the grandest sporting event, the Olympics, after 128 years. That's right, cricket has won a hard-fought battle and it will now be added to the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. Squash, flag football and lacrosse have also been added to the list. But let's focus on cricket for now. A final decision is still pending. However, the International Cricket Council, or the ICC, says they are certain that cricket will get the approval. If it does, the 2028 edition of the Olympics will feature cricket after a gap of over 100 years. Now, back in the year 1900, cricket was played at the Olympics, and guess which countries were playing? England and France. France. A little hard to imagine, right? Let's fast forward 128 years, and France has moved away from cricket. England, of course, still one of the most dominant teams, and with cricket returning to the Olympics, countries get another chance to compete for the top spot. Now, it will be unfair on our part to say that cricket is making an entry in the US because of the Olympics. In fact, cricket has gained steadfast popularity across US and Canada over the years. And one of the big reasons for it is its South Asian diaspora. There are millions of South Asians in North America, and quite a few of them are fans of the sport. Though the sporting discourse of the US is dominated by American football, basketball and baseball, cricket is finding buyers too and slowly gaining some ground. Now, for folks that are not acquainted with cricket, here's an easy way to explain the sport's format. Cricket has three main categories for both men and women. The long form is called Test cricket. It happens over 5 days, and it's the one that we call the OG, the format that truly tests the skills and strategic inputs of the squads. Then there are the 50-over matches called one-day internationals, like what's happening at the World Cup now. These games usually last anywhere between 8 to 10 hours. And then, of course, there's the fast-paced T20 format, a short-form, action-packed version of cricket where the matches end in 4 hours. Perfect, much like a movie. And guess what? America is going to co-host the 2024 Men's T20 Cricket World Cup too. Matches will be played in the cities of New York, Dallas and Miami. Cricket has entered the American market and it looks to make a big splash next year. Now, the roots of this, if you remember, would go back to 2015 when two legends, friends of the field, Sachin Tendulkar and Shane Warne, decided to bring the sport to the USA. Thus, Cricket All-Stars was born. Multiple teams with legends across countries like Brian Lara, Virendra Sehwag, Wasim Akram, Mutai Muralidharan. The list was long and impressive. All descended to play an interesting sport of T20 amongst each other in teams. And the crowds came in big numbers. But owing to financial crisis, this ended being a one-time event. Today, cricket is spreading its roots in North America. The lucrative Major League Cricket, or MLC, took place earlier this year, a league that has top Indian Premier League franchises like Mumbai Indians, Chennai Super Kings and the Knight Riders invested. In the month of August, I had the chance to speak to one of the most well-known Indian batter and wicketkeeper, Robin Uthappa. He spoke about an even shorter format called T10, which happened right after MLC in USA. Basically, a match where each side plays only 10 overs. That featured many top cricketers like Chris Gayle, Shahid Afridi, Yuvraj Singh and of course, Uthappa himself. Could this be the future of cricket? We don't know for sure. Here's what he had to say though about the cricketing experience in the USA. You've just sort of come back from a stint with the US T10, the US T10 league as well. How was that experience for you?
It was a great experience. I think T10 cricket is something that's really nice. I think it's great for cricket in a sense that it's a great version of the game to take to introduce the game to lesser playing nations. I think it's a great version of the game to introduce to anyone who hasn't played cricket. So to any other countries who haven't played cricket, it's a great version to introduce. And then you can build up slowly, because then you can teach them the rules of the game through this version, and then kind of build it up to T20 and 50-over cricket, and then Test match cricket. So I think in that sense, the game is a lot of fun as well. You suddenly realize that T20 cricket, you still have a lot more time than you can actually imagine in your head as a batter. So I think it actually makes the game that much more competitive, and I have quite enjoyed myself playing this version of the game.
How was the experience in in the US when it came to the fanfare or it came to fans? Because you've heard that a lot of the venues were thronged by many Indians. Did you experience the same sort of energy? I know it's not going to be, how the Premier League in India is, but how is the energy in the stadiums like?
Well, unfortunately, this tournament that happened in the US, the location we played in was affected by the storm season. So people in the States are very aware that how the storms can affect matches. In fact, first few games of the tournament were affected by rain, and a lot of those games were washed out. We didn't have too much of the crowds coming in because they were obviously well aware that this was happening. But having said that, that there were still a few Indians, some die-hard Indian fans that were there, subcontinental fans that were there, because a lot of Indians are playing, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Sri Lankans are all playing the tournament. So there were there's still a fair few there, but not in the numbers that you would generally kind of experience. But in America, that there's like I said, subcontinent, population is very big. So that there will always be, like in the MLC and even in the T20Is that happened between India and West Indies, there was a lot of fanfare and packed houses there.
The South Asian diaspora is indeed igniting a steady interest in cricket, and the sport is growing in the US, from being just a one-time thing to now a sport that will be followed, celebrated, and yes, practiced too. No wonder they are co-hosting the next T20 World Cup with the West Indies. But when the Olympics are held in 2028, it will be different. Olympics is the largest sporting event in the world. To have cricket as a part of it means a lot for the sport itself. It can create eagerness and interest in other nations that do not really play cricket. And the more nations that play cricket, the better it is for the growth of the sport. It's not just the US which is seeing cricket fever. The sport has gained popularity in West Asia too. Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have their national teams now. In Central Asia too, Mongolia has its own team, very young, just a few years old. They even participated at the recently concluded Asian Games in Hangzhou. It's clear the sport that was niche is catching on globally and taking over a continent that never used to play for decades. And its inclusion in the 2028 LA Olympics could give it a major shot in the arm on the international sporting stage. And now it's time for the last serve. We're ending up this show and it's just something that we leave you with, a parting shot. Now, we were speaking of sports and sporting disciplines being included in the 2028 LA Olympics. What about the 2024 Paris Olympics? There's a new sport that's come across, and that is kayak cross, a fun way to create some thrills. That's sure to give some excitement, not just for those participating, but for those watching it as well. But that's all the time we have here today on Firstpost. We'll of course keep you posted. We'll of course bring you all the updates and keep interacting with you as the day goes on. And don't forget, our World Cup coverage will continue on the Cup of Dreams, so keep following me for that as well. But for now, take care. Goodbye.